The twilight has come. The hour is late. The sun sets upon the idols of men. The gods they worshipped, the powers they exalted, the altars they built with their hands, now tremble. The twilight descends, and with it the idols of the age begin to waver. The gods that once stood unchallenged, the forces that ruled over nations and empires, the deities of wealth, power, and indulgence, now tremble under the weight of their own corrupt. They were lifted high, given honor, exalted by the multitudes. They sat upon thrones of gold, praised in the halls of rulers and kings, worshipped by the masses who placed their trust in their promises. They assured security, they granted power, they offered pleasure without consequence, prosperity without restraint. The world bowed at their feet, built altars to them, sacrificed truth and righteousness in their name. But the gods of men are not eternal. Their foundations are not unshakable. They rise for a season, they reign for an age, and then they fall. It was written long ago, those who trust in idols will become like them, blind, deaf, lifeless. And so the world has been shaped in the image of its gods. The god of wealth has shaped a civilization obsessed with gain, where worth is measured by possessions and power is counted in coin. The god of pleasure has birthed a people who chase after desire, who cast aside restraint, who bow before the altar of indulgence. The god of self has created a world where man exalts himself above all things, where truth is discarded in favor of self-made realities, where right and wrong are no longer fixed, but dictated by the will of the moment. And the god of power has forged a kingdom where might is worshipped, where those who dominate are revered, where justice is twisted in the hands of the mighty. These are the gods of this age, and they have ruled for generations, shaping cultures, determining the course of nations. But the gods of men do not last. They rise on the illusions of their own greatness. But in the end, they are nothing more than dust. And now the shaking comes, the hour when their power is tested, when the illusions begin to fade. The economy that seemed invincible wavers on the edge of collapse. The wealth that promised security proves to be fragile, fading like a vapor. The pleasures that once satisfied now leave only emptiness and regret. The ideologies that once stood as unshakable truths crumble under the weight of their own contradictions. The rulers who seemed untouchable are exposed for what they truly are. The fall of idols is not sudden, nor is it without warning. It begins as a whisper, a subtle unraveling, a slow erosion of the foundations. Cracks appear where once there was only strength. Shadows creep upon what was once bright and glorious. At first, the people ignore the signs, holding tighter to the gods they have known, refusing to believe that the powers they trusted in could fail them. But the decline does not stop. It cannot be halted. The gods they built with their own hands betray them. Their altars turn to dust. Their promises are proven to be lies. The mighty tremble. The rulers falter. The foundations of the world shake. The collapse of idols has happened before. It is the cycle of history, the downfall of civilizations, the judgment of an age. The kingdoms of Babylon, of Rome, of every empire that lifted itself up against the Most High, all have fallen. The gods they worshipped faded into oblivion, their statues buried in the dust, their names forgotten by time. What was once declared eternal is now nothing more than ruins. And now it happens again, the same pattern, the same fall, the same unveiling. The gods of this age stand at the edge of their twilight. Their time is ending, their reign is crumbling. The world that trusted in them, that gave them its allegiance, that sacrificed its soul for their promises, now finds itself lost, uncertain, without hope. Yet the people do not see, or they refuse to see. They cling to what is failing. They grasp for what is slipping away. They do not recognize the hour, the lateness of the time. The very institutions they place their faith in betray them. The systems they trusted in prove to be broken. The leaders they followed are exposed as corrupt. Yet still they hold on. Still they look to the idols for salvation. Still they hope that the gods of their age will rise again, that the strength they once had will return. But the twilight has come, and there is no rising for them. There is no restoration for what was always an illusion. The gods of this world do not resurrect. They fall, and they are forgotten. The darkness deepens, the shaking intensifies, the unraveling continues. The gods are failing, and the people who put their trust in them begin to fall with them. The hour comes when all things must be revealed, when the veil that once concealed is lifted, when that which was hidden in the shadows is brought into the light. The world moves forward as if nothing will change, as if the order it has built will remain forever, as if the foundations it has laid are beyond question. But there is an appointed time, a moment when the weight of truth bears down upon the lies of an age, when the illusions of men are shattered, when the judgment that was long withheld is finally released. It is the hour of reckoning. It does not come without warning. The signs are always there. Whispers before the storm, tremors before the collapse. The warnings sound in the rising of corruption, in the erosion of what was once strong. The warnings echo echo in the shifting of nations, in the unraveling of order, in the growing restlessness of a world that senses, even without understanding, that something is coming. But the people do not listen. They turn their faces away. They drown out the warnings with distractions, with pleasures, with empty pursuits. They convince themselves that all will continue as it has before, that the pillars of their world will not crumble, that the judgments spoken of in ancient times belong to another age, another people, another reality. But the hour of reckoning does not delay forever. The cup of iniquity fills, and when it is full, it overflows. The patience of the Almighty is vast, but it is not without limit. And when that limit is reached, when a people, a nation, a civilization has crossed the point of return, the hand of restraint is lifted, and what was once held back is released. Then the veil is torn away, the true nature of things is revealed. That which was spoken in secret is shouted from the rooftops. That which was hidden in darkness is exposed in the light. The works of the wicked are no longer covered, no longer excused, no longer protected. The foundations of deceit begin to crumble. The strongholds of corruption begin to collapse. It begins with the shaking. The systems that seemed unbreakable begin to waver. The rulers who once commanded fear begin to stumble. The institutions that held power begin to fracture. That which was once called wisdom is revealed as foolishness. That which was once praised as strength is seen as weakness. That which was once glorified is shown to be hollow. And those who place their trust in these things, who built their lives upon them, who gave their allegiance to the gods of this age, find themselves unmoored, unsteady, cast adrift in a world they no longer understand. The shaking reaches into every realm. It moves through the halls of power, through the marketplaces of wealth, through the temples of culture and ideology. It exposes the falsehoods upon which they were built, reveals the lies that sustain them, brings to light the hidden motivations, the secret agendas, the corruption that was always present but always denied. The people watch as those they trusted are revealed as frauds, as the institutions they relied on are shown to be corrupt, as the world they thought was secure is exposed as an illusion. And then the collapse begins. What was once stable can no longer stand. The leaders who once commanded respect are now despised. The structures that once gave order now bring chaos. The alliances that once held firm are now broken. The very fabric of society unravels as the truth comes forth, as the reckoning reaches its fullness, as the weight of judgment falls upon that which was never meant to last. The nations tremble, the rulers fall, the world staggers under the weight of its own iniquity. But even as the reckoning unfolds, there are those who still refuse to see. They cling to the remnants of what is falling. They deny the reality before them. They seek to rebuild what cannot be restored, to revive what is already dead. They cry out for deliverance, but not from their own sins. They seek refuge, but not in truth. They look for salvation, but not from the one who alone can save. And so they fall deeper into darkness, deeper into deception, deeper into the chaos of their own making. The reckoning has come, but they do not recognize it. The hour has arrived, but they are unprepared. The judgment stands before them, but they do not repent. The world as it was is no more. The age that once stood is passing away. The twilight deepens, and the reckoning does not cease. The old order crumbles, and nothing can stop its fall. The night approaches, and the earth shakes beneath its weight. The call goes forth, but who will hear it? The voice cries out in the midst of the chaos, in the hour of unraveling, in the days when the foundations are shaken and the gods of the age fall. The call is not new. It was spoken long ago, in ancient days, to a people who had turned away, to a nation that had forsaken the path of truth. It is the call that echoes through history, the summons that has gone forth in every age of judgment, in every time of reckoning, in every moment when a civilization stands on the edge of its own destruction. It is the call to return. There was a time when the people walked in the light, when they knew the truth, when they honored the ways of righteousness. There was a time when the foundation was firm, when the path was clear, when they dwelt under the covering of the Almighty. But the hearts of men are prone to wander, and so they did. They were drawn away, enticed by other voices, lured by the promises of the age. They turned to the gods of the nations, to the idols of wealth and pleasure, to the altars of ambition and pride. They cast aside what was sacred and exchanged for what was profane. They abandoned the covenant and embraced the ways of the world. They lifted up their own desires above the truth, followed after their own ways, and declared themselves free from the one who had given them life. At first, they did not notice the shift. The blessings continued. The land remained fruitful. The city gates were strong. The prosperity of the nation seemed untouched. They mistook the patience of the Almighty for his approval. They convinced themselves that they had outgrown the old ways, that they had moved beyond the need for truth, that they could build their own destiny without the hand of the one who had established them. They silenced the voices that warned them, mocked the prophets who called them to return, ridiculed those who still clung to the ways of righteousness. They celebrated their own wisdom, their own strength, their own enlightenment. But the warnings did not cease. The call did not fade. It came in the whispers of conscience, in the signs of decline, in the trembling beneath their feet. It came in the disruptions, in the shakings, in the moments when the illusion of security was pierced by reality. It came in the growing emptiness, in the dissatisfaction that wealth could not fill, in the despair that pleasure could not remedy, in the realization that the things they had pursued with all their strength had left them empty and lost. And still, the call remained. Return. The call is not to destruction, but to restoration. It is the voice of mercy even in the midst of judgment. It is the hand extended even as the walls crumble. It is the offer of redemption before the final collapse. It is the chance to turn, to forsake the ways that led to ruin, to return to the path that was forsaken. It is not the call of condemnation, but of love. Not the summons to despair, but to hope. It is the voice that cries out in the wilderness, the voice that calls to those who have wandered far away, the voice that pleads before the night comes. But the call is urgent. It does not wait forever. The door that stands open will not remain open without end. The invitation that is given will not be extended without limit. The patience of the Almighty is great, but the hour is late. There is a time for mercy, but there is also a time for judgment. There is a time for grace, but there is also a time when the consequences must come. And when that time arrives, when the reckoning is at hand, when the moment of decision can no longer be delayed, what will remain for those who refused to turn? Yet even now, even in the last moments, even as the shadows lengthen and the light fades, the call still goes forth. It reaches to the lost, to the wandering, to the broken, to the weary. It calls to those who have given themselves to the gods of this world, to those who have built their lives on shifting sands, to those who have placed their trust in what is now crumbling before their eyes. It calls them to turn, to forsake what is perishing, to return to the one who alone is unshakable. It calls them to come out from the darkness, to abandon the ways of the fallen, to walk once again in the light. The voice cries out across the land, across the nations, across the hearts of men. Some will hear it and respond. Some will turn and be restored. Some will forsake their idols and find life. But others will cover their ears. Others will mock the voice. Others will turn away, clinging to what is fading, refusing to see what is before them. And the call will remain, waiting for those who will listen, pleading for those who will answer, summoning all who will come before it is too late. The darkness deepens, and the world trembles beneath its weight. The age that was is passing away. The order that once stood unshaken is collapsing. The pillars that upheld the nations are crumbling to dust. The gods have fallen. The reckoning has come. The call has gone forth. The night is heavy upon the earth, and the people grope in the shadows, searching for something that will not fade, something that will not crumble, something that will not betray them. They search in vain among the ruins, in the broken altars, in the shattered temples of their idols, but they find nothing. What they worshipped has deceived them. What they trusted in has abandoned them. The world they knew is no more. And yet, beyond the night, beyond the wreckage, beyond the cries of a world in collapse, something else rises. It does not rise as the empires of men rise, with fanfare and pride, with declarations of greatness and displays of strength. It rises in silence, in stillness, in a way that the world does not recognize. It rises as a kingdom not built by human hands, a foundation that cannot be shaken, a light that no darkness can overcome. The kingdoms of the earth have their time, their glory, their dominion, but they pass away. The rulers of this age rise and fall. The powers that seem invincible are here for a moment and then vanish like smoke. But what now rises is not of this world. It does not pass away. It does not fall. It is the kingdom that was from the beginning, the kingdom that will remain when all else is gone, the kingdom that cannot be overthrown. For those who have placed their trust in the things of this world, in the strength of nations, in the wisdom of men, in the power of wealth, the collapse is the end. They see only ruin, only loss, only despair. But for those who have turned, for those who have answered the call, for those who have forsaken the gods of this age and placed their trust in what is greater, the twilight is not the end, it is the beginning. The kingdom that rises is the one that was always meant to stand. It is the kingdom that was spoken of in ancient days, the kingdom that was foretold, the kingdom that was prepared for those who would turn, for those who would seek, for those who would not place their hope in what is passing away. It is not built upon shifting sands, but upon the rock that cannot be moved. It is not governed by the wisdom of men, but by the wisdom that is eternal. It is not subject to the fall of empires, to the decay of time, to the corruption of flesh. It stands when all all else falls. It remains when all else is gone. It is the inheritance of those who choose not the fading light of the world, but the light that endures beyond the twilight. It is the promise given to those who do not waver, to those who do not shrink back, to those who do not bow to the idols of the age. It is the reward of the faithful, the refuge of the righteous, the dwelling place of those who walk in the truth. The world does not see it. The rulers of the earth do not acknowledge it. The wise of this age do not understand it. To them it is foolishness, a fantasy, a dream. They see only what is before them, only what their hands can touch, only what their minds can comprehend. But their eyes are blinded. Their understanding is darkened. They do not see that the world they grasp so tightly is already slipping away, that the power they cling to is already vanishing, that the future they imagine is already crumbling before their eyes. They do not see that beyond the twilight, beyond the fall, beyond the collapse of all that they trusted in, something greater is taking its place. To those who have eyes to see, to those who have ears to hear, to those who have turned from the ways of destruction, it is not a mystery. They have seen the signs. They have understood the times. They have known that the kingdoms of men must fall so that what is unshakable may rise. They do not fear the darkness, for they know that beyond it the dawn is coming. They do not mourn what is lost, for they have set their eyes on what is greater. They do not waver, for their foundation is firm, their hope secure, their destiny unshaken. The night deepens, but it will not remain forever. The powers of this age rage, but they will not endure. The world as it was passes away, but something greater is rising. The twilight of the gods has come, and the night follows. But beyond the night, beyond the sorrow, beyond the fading of what was, the true kingdom comes. The dawn will break, and nothing will stop it. The light will shine, and no darkness will overcome it. And the promise will be fulfilled, and nothing will stand against it. The kingdoms of the earth will pass, but this kingdom will stand forever. The winds shift, the earth trembles, the course of history turns, and the world does not recognize the moment. It moves forward as if nothing is changing, as if the past will dictate the future, as if the structures that once stood will remain forever. But the unseen hand moves. The tides shift, the hidden plan unfolds, and those who have discernment understand that nothing will ever be the same again. The twilight of the gods has come, and with it the unraveling of what was, the revealing of what is, and the foreshadowing of what is to come. The leaders of nations speak of progress, of power, of control, of shaping the destiny of the world according to their own designs. They build their towers, they fortify their cities, they seek to command the forces of history as if they were their own. They imagine themselves as masters of the age, as architects of the future, as rulers who will determine the fate of all things. They declare their wisdom, they boast of their understanding, they set forth their vision for the world, believing that the course of history is in their hands. But the foundation upon which they stand is not their own. The breath in their lungs is not their own. The power they wield is not their own. They build their towers without knowing that the ground beneath them is already shifting, that the walls around them are already cracking, that the structure they have so carefully crafted is already on the edge of collapse. It has happened before. The rulers of ancient kingdoms stood where they now stand, believing their reign would never end, trusting in their own power, placing their faith in their own gods. They built monuments to themselves, carved their names into stone, declared that their dominion would last for generations, and yet their names are now forgotten. Their monuments are ruins. Their dominion is dust. The empires of Babylon, of Rome, of the kingdoms that rose and fell, all stood in the pride of their own power, and all were brought low. The kings of the earth do not learn. They do not remember, they do not see that what was will be again, that the cycle of history is unbroken, that the end of every age comes in the same way. The gods of their time fell, and so too will the gods of this age. The thrones of their time crumbled, and so too will the thrones of today. The dominion of their time passed away, and so too will the dominion of those who believe themselves beyond judgment. But even now, in the final hours of the age, there is a choice. There are those who will see, those who will understand, those who will turn before it is too late. They will recognize the signs, discern the hour, perceive what others do not. They will know that what is coming cannot be stopped, that what has been set in motion will not be undone, that what has been declared will come to pass. They will not put their trust in what is perishing. They will not hold on to what is crumbling. They will not cling to what is fading away. They will hear the call that goes forth in the midst of the storm, the voice that speaks even as the earth shakes, the summons to come out from the system that is falling, to separate from the ways of those who are perishing, to step onto the path that leads beyond the collapse. For the way has been made, the door has been opened, the passage has been prepared. It is not the path of the proud, nor of the mighty, nor of those who seek their own glory. It is the path of the humble, of those who know they are not their own masters, of those who do not place place their faith in the shifting tides of history. It is the path that leads beyond the fall of empires, beyond the shaking of nations, beyond the twilight of the gods. It is the way of those who belong not to the kingdoms of the earth, but to the kingdom that does not fall. The night deepens, the storm rises, the earth groans beneath the weight of what is coming. The rulers of the age scramble for control, but they do not understand that the power they seek is already slipping through their fingers. The people of the world search for stability, but they do not understand that what they are clinging to is already crumbling. The wise of the age proclaim their understanding, but they do not realize that the wisdom they trust in is already turning to foolishness. The plans of men unravel. The schemes of rulers come to nothing. The strategies of the powerful are made void. There will be those who will mock, those who will scoff, those who will reject what is unfolding before them. They will dismiss the signs, deny the warnings, insist that all things continue as they have always been. They will put their hope in the strength of men, in the security of nations, in the power of wealth, in the stability of their own understanding. They will refuse to see until the moment it is too late, until the hour of decision has passed, until the twilight has become the night. But there will be others. They will perceive what is hidden. They will understand what is veiled. They will hear what the world does not hear. They will step out of the shadows, leave behind what is fading, walk in the path that has been set before them. They will not place their trust in what is perishing, nor build their lives upon what is passing away. They will know that beyond the fall, beyond the shaking, beyond the twilight, something greater is coming. They will not fear the storm, for they belong to what the storm cannot shake. They will not mourn what is lost, for they have already gained what is greater. They will not waver, for their foundation is secure, their path is clear, their destiny is unshakable. The hour is late, and the winds of change have begun to stir. The pillars that upheld the world are weakened, the foundations are cracked, and the nations stand at the precipice without understanding what is coming. The kings of the earth believe they still hold dominion, that they still have control, that they still direct the course of history. But the shifting of the times is not in their hands. The destiny of the world is not bound by their decrees. They are caught in a tide they cannot stop, in a storm they cannot control, in a reckoning they cannot escape. They speak of new orders, of new ways, of new powers rising, but what they do not see is that they are presiding over the collapse, over the fall, over the twilight of the age. The twilight comes not only to the nations, but to the gods they have worshipped, to the ideologies they have trusted, to the systems they have built. The gods of this age were not made of stone, nor carved by human hands, yet they ruled the hearts of men just as the idols of ancient times. They were the gods of pleasure, of power, of wealth, of pride. They were the forces that shaped cultures, that dictated the values of societies, that determined what was exalted and what was despised. They promised fulfillment, they promised security, they promised freedom, but they have left behind emptiness, destruction, and despair. The people placed their trust in them, devoted their lives to them, sacrificed even their own children upon their altars, and now, in the end, they are watching them fall. The collapse is not only physical, not only economic, not only political, it is spiritual. The unraveling of the world is the result of a deeper unraveling, a severing of the connection to what is true, a forsaking of the foundation upon which it was built. The nations turned away, the people turned away, the rulers turned away, and now they stand in the ruins of their own making, in the desolation of a world cut off from its source. And yet even now they do not see, even as the storm rises, even as their power fades, even as their thrones crumble, they do not turn. They double down on their rebellion, they harden their hearts, they shake their fists at the heavens. They believe they can rebuild what is falling, restore what is perishing, remake the world in their own image. They do not understand that the order they knew is gone, that the age they trusted in has passed, that the dominion they sought to establish was never theirs to hold. And yet, even as the gods fall, even as the nations shake, even as the night descends, the call goes forth. It is not a call to despair, but to return. It is the same call that has gone forth in every age of judgment, in every moment of reckoning, in every twilight before the dawn. It is the call to those who will hear, to those who will see, to those who will turn before it is too late. It is the call to come out of the collapsing system, to forsake the ways that lead to destruction, to walk not in the path of those who perish, but in the path of those who endure. It is the call to choose what is greater, to build one's life not upon the shifting sands of this world, but upon the rock that does not move. There will be those who answer, who recognize the hour, who perceive the times, who know that what is coming is greater than what is fading. They will not cling to the failing systems, to the fallen idols, to the crumbling towers. They will step out from the midst of the collapse. They will stand firm even as the world shakes. They will walk in the light even as the darkness deepens. They will not be shaken because their foundation is not of this world. They will not fall because they do not stand on what is passing away. They will endure because they belong not to the kingdoms of men, but to the kingdom that does not fall. But there will also be those who refuse to hear, who refuse to see, who refuse to turn. They will hold tighter to the ruins. They will seek refuge in what is already crumbling. They will place their hope in what is already lost. They will cry out for deliverance, but not from their own rebellion. They will seek safety, but not in the truth. They will fight against the collapse, not understanding that they are fighting against the inevitable. They will build, but what they build will not last. They will gather, but what they gather will be scattered. They will strive, but their striving will come to nothing. The twilight comes, and the world stands on the edge of what it does not comprehend. The powers of the earth rage, but they are powerless to stop what has been set in motion. The wise of the age boast, but their wisdom is already turning to foolishness. The strong fortify themselves, but their strength is already failing. The leaders declare their dominion, but they are presiding not over the rise, but over the fall. The gods they worshipped have no power to save them. The systems they trusted in have no power to sustain them. The knowledge they relied upon has no power to guide them. And yet, in the midst of it all, the remnant will stand. The faithful will endure. The light will not be extinguished. The truth will not be overcome. The kingdom that does not fall will rise, and those who have chosen it will rise with it. The night will come, but it will not remain forever. The storm will rage, but it will not have the final word. The old will pass away and something greater will take its place. The twilight of the gods has come and nothing will ever be the same again.